Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining me. We have a fantastic show planned for you today. It's going to be awesome. We got Warren Sapp, the man talking football better than anyone else in the country, the NFL Hall of Famer. We got Sapp with us today. We got my favorite politician, Kari Lake. She's going to join us today. And if you stick around, I have a very special gift for you. If you stick around, you're going to get a daily dose of Deion at the end of the show. You got to stick around. I know Ticket TV and all the Deion groupies, they got nothing better to do. You'll stick around for the back half of the show so you can get your daily dose of Deion. Deion has been named Sportsperson of the Year by Sports Illustrated. We got to talk about it. Steve Kim's going to join me to talk about that at the end of the show. But first, we'll hear from Warren Sapp. We'll talk some NFL football. We'll talk about David Tepper firing his coach, and we'll talk about Bill Belichick again, and we'll talk about Kari Lake. She's running for the U.S. Senate. Then I'll give you your daily dose of Deion. So awesome show. You guys need to start hitting that 5-star rating over Apple. You guys need to leave me a review over Apple. Start pounding the like button here on YouTube. Got to help us fight the algorithm. And you guys know you need to support my favorite sponsor, Preborn. Why is our society so ravenous to abort babies? According to a former Satanist, the demonic forces have a bloodthirst for the innocents and the sickly, believe their blood sacrifices empowers evil. Make no mistake, we are fighting a spiritual battle as we protect the most important among us, babies in their mother's womb. Preborn stands on the front lines of this battle, and their network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion areas, often next to abortion mills where unspeakable evil takes place every day. Preborn offers God's love and life to protect hurting women and precious preborn babies. And every time a baby is saved, which happens 200 times a day, good conquers evil. Please make your most generous gift to empower good and rescue precious souls. For just $28, you can sponsor an ultrasound that doubles a baby's chance at life. To donate securely, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or give the way I like to give. Go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. All right, time for my favorite time of the week. Time to talk some football with the best person talking football in all of America, particularly about the National Football League. Warren Sapp, the QB killer, Hall of Fame football player, friend of the show, future coach at the University of Colorado. Warren, I got an interesting take for you. David Tepper has fired Frank Reich. And last year, I think he fired Steve Wilkes and he fired Matt Rule. And now everybody is like, man, David Tepper, he got a quick trigger. He's firing everybody. And this morning I was talking to my producers and, John Hadley's from St. Louis, TJ Moe, he's from St. Louis. And these guys follow hockey. And it's like, it's really commonplace in hockey for coaches to get fired early in the season, mid-season. It's just commonplace that hockey coaches get, fired and then they'll get hired by another team in the same season that they got fired someplace else. They'll get hired someplace else. And so I'm wondering if this just isn't a new normal in the NFL, because I look at the Houston Texans and they fired Lovie Smith. They fired that longtime assistant coach whose name I can't remember, light-skinned brother. They fired him after a year. And then They finally found Tully. Yeah, Tully, David Tully.
David Tully, something like that.
Yeah, and then they found their real coach, DeMeco Ryan. Maybe it's not bad to can a guy after a year. If you know, it's almost like a girlfriend, or early on whether this is the one or if this is just a plaything. And why not just move on? If you're looking for a real thing, why not move on? Why drag it out?
I agree with what they did in Carolina, because the quarterback whisper stories were out the window. I mean, they had an offensive coordinator that was calling the plays. They had a quarterback coach that was with the quarterback all the time. They have a head coach who, is notorious for one of the greatest comebacks ever in playoff history. Frank Reich, the Desperados, throwing it up and, taking the Buffalo Bills when Jim Kelly got hurt. And then you have Deuce Staley, who's the assistant head coach, who's very vocal and, had Donovan McNabb as quarterback. And then you have the front office that, drafted a young man and really believe in him. So I think we have 5 different people right there that's giving this man the wrong message and a bunch of different messages. And you know what they say, too many messages to one person is not a good thing. So they cleared house. Frank White wasn't the only one they fired. Deuce Staley went out and a couple other coaches went out. Yeah, they cleaned house, and they're going to get some people in there that understand what this kid is and believe in this kid, and they're going to go with him because he's that quarterback. He can play this game.
Oh, so you have no questions about Bryce Young.
I like him. I love him. I love him. Because the thing we were talking about when he got in this league was that when they hit him, is he going to be, tough enough to get up? I think we've answered that question. They've been beating the hell out of this kid. He's been getting up every time. So we've answered that question. So now let's get him some people that believe in him and get him a system around him that he's getting one message. And let's see if he can go out and play the game, which I thoroughly believe he can.
So you like this decision. What do you think of David Tepper and his quick trigger?
You know what? A lot of billionaires have a lot of money, and if we're not going to tell them they need to hire some brothers, we damn sure ain't going to tell them who not to fire. I mean, it's their money. I mean, if you're going to give Jumbo Fisher $28,000 a day for the next 8 years to go fishing, shit, yeah. In the NFL, you definitely get fired. That's real money there. I mean, we ain't even got to question that. Let's get it on, Tepper. Get your organization where you want it, and let's go. I don't have a problem with it. It's his house. Clean it up, and let's roll. Let's see what we got, because we gonna still cover it. I guarantee you that. It gets funner when you bring people in.
So, part of the narrative had been, oh, man, they quick on the draw with these black coaches. It's just they're quick on the draw with coaches.
They're quick on the draw, period.
Somebody,
especially when you have the kind of money that they have, they really believe that the next decision will make it all right. It's just like a bad stock deal they did. I mean, they're not really concerned about it. It's just, you wipe that off. You wipe that off the books and you continue on. This big business, man. Come on. And no one wants to come to the stadium every week and see a non-growing product when you just, traded away what Chicago got, the 1st and the 5th now? That's some good work Chicago doing up there if they could do it. And I'm glad I got the memo with the sweat top. We look real good up here, 2 fat guys in green. Isn't that lovely?
So let me throw a wild card at you, and I know you'll probably agree with me, but I think we'll probably both agree it's not a possibility. But if I'm David Tepper and I'm a billionaire, and it's like, hey, man, and because, again, I think, isn't he the richest NFL owner now?
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, I think he's the richest NFL owner.
There's little money.
Yeah, and so I would do whatever I wanted to do. And so you know what that would make me do if I had Bryce Young? It'd make me call up John Gruden and say, hey, man, come on over here and work with my quarterback. You be our head coach.
I tell you what, the old coach wouldn't be objective to that because he got Carson Wentz and, he works with a bunch of guys. He really does. The only thing Bryce would have to do is make a call. And if anybody out there, tell Bryce to call me and I'll put him in contact with JG, and JG will put him in the lab because that's all he does. Every day he goes in that lab and looks at film and he's still a coach, but he just doesn't have a team. I mean, that mind and body still works, and he loves this game. I mean, he loves it, and he's going crazy at home yelling like Brady. Ain't nobody playing, ain't nobody practicing. Did you see the kid from Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson? Oh, my God. One of the most disgusting plays I've ever seen in the history of my life. Then to top it off, Whitlock, the play before he drops a touchdown. And then I'm gonna send it to you. It's on my Instagram too. It was just at Warren Sapp, y'all. Come on, follow me and check it out. Like, share, and subscribe, just like you do to this show right here. Let's make sure we get it out there, because you gotta have it. We gotta keep it real right now. And these kids are disgracing the game right now, Jason. It's a disgrace to sometime to watch.
So I'm gonna throw you another little curveball. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this,
love
but I just can't resist.
I don't like the fastball.
I can't
like
resist.
Curveballs.
Yeah, I can't resist making this point. I want you to give your guy Deion some advice on what he should do, on what if he really wants to win next year, and if he really wants his son to be in the Heisman race and to have his best season. I got a name for Deion for offensive coordinator, and Deion's got the clout and the power to do it. They just named him Sportsman of the Year despite a 4-8 record. He can do whatever he wants. Art Briles, Deion should bring in as offensive coordinator at Colorado. The dude that made RG3 the Heisman Trophy, the dude everywhere he goes, the quarterbacks put up magical numbers. All of his assistant coaches, now his son-in-law just got the head coaching job in the SEC, just left Oklahoma. Deion should hire Art Briles if he wants to make magic on offense.
Where's Art?
Art's got run out because he got run out of football because of the Baylor scandal. If you like a year or two ago, Hugh Jackson tried to hire him as offensive coordinator at Grambling, and Doug Williams wouldn't let it happen.
Ouch.
And Art Briles, the Baylor scandal,
in Washington? Doug's not in Washington?
Yeah, but Doug is in Washington. I'm talking about he stopped. Grambling's his school. He stopped.
I got that
Grambling
part, but he called down and told Hugh who he could and could not hire?
He Doug told Williams, the school president.
After what Culverhouse did to him, he would do that? Stop it.
He did that.
I got to call Yeah, I know the offense you're talking about. Yeah, he's a madman. He's an offense. Yeah, he's an offensive madman. Yeah, he lights people up. Yeah, he does. He like Lane Kiffin without so much of the baggage. They love the attack.
It depends on who you talk to about the baggage.
It's always a different opinion. Whoever you talk to about whoever. Yeah. So it goes like it is. Let it be. I like that. Art Briles. Right. I like it.
So that's my help for Deion. People think I'd love to see Deion be successful.
Like you announced. I'm gonna give Deion some help too, brother. So we're gonna go after their quarterback like they coming after mine. So we're gonna see how they like that.
I want to move back to the NFL. I threw out a very hot take earlier this week that these quarterbacks that they're all running out there as NFL MVP, they're all overrated. None of them are as good as the guys that used to win MVP. And so we need to start looking out. And I've already told you Tyreek Hill should be considered. But now I'm even saying Jason Kelce should be considered for the MVP. And then I saw Emmanuel Acho throughout. Trent Williams should be a candidate for the MVP for what he's doing. Why not?
Trent who? Trent Williams?
Williams.
The offensive tackle? Stop it.
For the 49ers.
You know that man from Nigeria. You know that man from Nigeria, and they always running schemes. So let's just disregard that. Let's get to you that actually called out a football player that you have to circle, because at least you have to be circled, and somebody have to try to devise a scheme after you. But the old lineman, I thought you was talking about his brother.
Jason Kelce.
The one that two false snaps the other night at a crucial time in the game? You did?
The one that makes their running game go. The one that makes their running game go. The trigger to the whole tush push. You're looking at the one that makes his running game go. Right there, Mr. Jalen Hurts. Because Jalen Hurts allows the Philadelphia Eagles to play 11-on-11 football, and he can make the 11th man miss. That's the key to running quarterbacks. Lamar. How many yards per carry is Jalen Hurts averaging?
Not even looking at it. I mean, y'all got a stat department in there. Come on, when I give you something, I tell you the thing. I don't ask questions.
Tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Come on, I don't know.
Just take a guess. Take a guess.
Jalen Hurts, a quarterback?
Yeah.
Let's say.
What's he averaging per carry?
8-9 a carry.
3.6.
And you saying the center is powerness?
3.6.
In the center that's powerness, you want to give the MVP?
Because the tush push. He's not a dynamic running quarterback. We saw that with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, his MVP season, averaged 7 yards a carry.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Cam Newton, when he was at the height of his powers, his MVP season, he averaged like 5 yards a carry.
They don't want to run. They want to throw.
18 TDs and 10 interceptions.
Mike Vick was the runner.
18 TDs and 10 interceptions. And we trying to give Jalen Hurts the MVP?
I ain't say Jalen Hurts for the MVP. I got the cheetah down here in Miami. I've got a man finna put up 2,000 yards, the scariest thing on the football field right now. I mean, absolute just strikes fear in the heart of defenders. They won't get up on the line. They won't try to jam him. They can't even find a way to double him, Whitlock. That's how I'm perplexed at it. I mean, the young man is tearing ass right now down in South Florida. And McDaniels is calling it, and they're going to work. And Tua's letting it go. I mean, they're letting the ball go in, 2.2 seconds? That's a hell of a pass rush you got to put on to stop that. Somebody better put a hand on them receivers and try to run and disrupt the timing of their offense because, oh, my goodness, I looked at something the other day, and they put up the top 5 quarterbacks. And it was Dak Prescott 1, Patrick Mahomes 2.
Brock Purdy 3. Go by QB ratings. Purdy's 1. QB rating and QBR. Purdy's 1 and Dak Prescott's 2.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's why Tyreek Hill, the cheetah, is going to win the MVP. You can't give it to the career backup, and you can't give it to Mr. Irrelevant. Not this year. He's got to do it twice. He's got to.
So why are you so against the offensive lineman getting the credit and respect? We just watched a Colorado football season, and we've just been shown how important the offensive line is. And I can't get any love for Jason Kelce and Trent Williams. I can't.
I love
defensive
Trent Williams.
lineman that played against Larry Allen.
I love Trent Williams. Trent Williams is that guy. I love the big, heavy Chevy, get rolling and do what he does, pull, come around, long trap. He's the best left tackle in the game and the best one since Jonathan Ogden, Orlando Pace, and some of them guys that I play with. But to talk about an MVP, we've never had a wide receiver be an MVP, and Randy Moss had 25 touchdowns, and Jerry Rice had 23.
We've had 2 kickers, Sapp. 2 kickers, Mark Mosley and George Blanda.
Yeah, Mark Mosley hit like
26
in a row. Mark Mosley hit like 26 in a row, and the game used to be, 12-10. Come on, man. You know how valuable 3 points was, and this man was out here with a barefoot in the middle of D.C. Come on, man. Now, Mark Mosley, I was a Cowboy fan growing up. I hated Mark Mosley, but boy, he used to put that thing through the uprights. That's why Adam Vinatieri is going to the Hall, and that's why Tom Brady is the champion he is, because of Adam Vinatieri. He only drove one down the field, and that was the Atlanta overtime Super Bowl. The rest of them is Adam Vinatieri. Good. Let's not talk about centers. Ugh. You just turned my stomach, dog. You want to get an MVP to a center. Ugh.
All right, let me, and we've already talked about this guy a little bit, but what do you think of the people that are championing Dak Prescott? And, he's having an incredible year, his best year, and he should be the MVP. What are your thoughts about Dak?
You know what? I like what Dak's doing. I really do. When you're talking about, a guy that's been maligned and a career backup his whole life, and, Cowboy Nation is rough. Just rough to even, just to deal with. But, he's playing good football right now, and, he had a goal of not throwing, 10 interceptions this year? He's got 6 right now, and he's got some pretty tough games coming up. I think the Eagles are still on the schedule. He's got to go through that, doesn't he? So we're gonna see. The playoffs are coming. The Cowboys aren't defined by the regular season. I mean, they've gone 13-3. We've seen that season. Yeah. It's playoffs. Dak will be decided by if he can go up there with Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman. My favorite quarterback. You know that. My favorite guy, Troy Aikman. He's on the TV as a slip or a scoop block. He's talking about, look at the reach block. Wow, Troy. You don't know what a reach is anymore, buddy? I know you saw that one, Whitlock. I know you saw that one. I know you saw that.
I don't understand. I don't like Troy Aikman slander. I don't really know. There's no reason to slander Troy Aikman.
It's just the truth.
Hall of Fame quarterback.
Dak will be judged if he can bring a Super Bowl to Dallas, period. Not by an MVP, and he ain't getting that either.
I agree. All right. Big game this Sunday. Huge game.
Underneath.
Philadelphia, San Francisco.
Yes.
Who you got?
I'm going. You know what? If I'm picking a team, I'm going with San Fran because Philly just played two very, very emotional games and came back on two good teams. I mean, how many more times you gonna get up like that? I mean, and then they're looking at their record, and if you're like me, what, they 10-1 right now? We can lose one and kind of right the ship after that loss right before we go to the playoffs. And I just think San Francisco's a better football team when they're healthy. And if you look at the numbers, it's crazy. I mean, you're talking about a team, Philly, you look at their defense, look at these numbers, Whitlock. 20, 21, 29, and 30. 20 is the best number, and that's points per game. That's the most important. The second is 21, their total defense, and that's how many yards you give up. And then we go down to 29 because it's a quarterback-driven league, and that's their pass defense. And then third down is the money down. And they're 30th in that. So I got an issue when your defense ain't playing well and you're dependent on the tush push and, a non-running quarterback, and A.J. Brown and Smith had a wonderful game last week. Oh, just came to life like A.J. Brown didn't have six straight games with 125 yards and broke the record, and he was being phased out. Most young wide receivers would go, oh, they ain't throwing me the ball. The young man was still running routes, doing what he's supposed to do. I guess that's why he's a Heisman Trophy winner, because he just loves the game and does his job. I mean, I love Philly, but when it's San Fran, they play bully ball. And Philly's supposed to be talking this, well, if we had our quarterback, well, you got him this week, let's see if you can protect him. But Lane Johnson might have his groin and a little hurt, but you don't want to come out there with Bosa and Chase not at full speed. I guarantee you this, because they're coming. And San Francisco is swinging a machete. They're not shooting bullets. They get close up on you. They cutting you.
I love San Francisco big this weekend.
Yeah.
My bookie's probably listening and watching, and he can't wait. He's probably just.
You better get in there early. You get in there early, you get a better number. Don't sit there and let the hype in the week and stuff like this decide people.
Number won't matter. Number one, San Francisco's going to crush them. Yeah.
I think so too.
For all the reasons you said, Philly can lose one. They're feeling good about themselves. Yeah. San Francisco wants to prove to everybody that they're a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, when they're healthy, they play like it too. Yeah, right out of hand, right in front of Philly crowd, right on the East Coast. Good thing it's 4:00, because boy, 1:00 they got a better chance of not burning down Broad Street. They're gonna be mad.
Hey, listen, I think if I'm right, and Hadley help me out here, I think the Texans and
the Broncos.
The Broncos play this weekend.
Yes.
And so that's Russell Wilson versus C.J. Stroud. Mm-hmm. And so listen to this question carefully. This isn't about who's the better quarterback in the long run. This is about to win a playoff game this year, who would you rather have, Russell Wilson or C.J. Stroud?
Dangerous. Every day and twice on Sunday. Give me the back-to-back Super Bowl going to world champion quarterback, and especially one that got 70 put up on them early in the year. They had to get rid of some bad people on defense, and hey, take your hat off to Vance, the defensive coordinator over there in Denver right now. He has them playing some excellent football right now. They're top 10 on third down, giving Dangerous 3 more snaps, and he's still good with that on time, off throw, that deep ball that we love to throw. And, Sean Payton doesn't hone him in. Kicked him out of his office like they did, up there. Kicked him out of his office and made him go back down to the locker room. And, his teammates look like they have a better appreciation for the quarterback they have right now. But when you're just talking about the experience of playoff football, there's nothing like it. And especially a guy that's going all the way in back-to-back years and through a game-losing interception. Yeah, give me that guy because he's seen all the pitfalls and he understands exactly what you need to do in the playoff game. The young kid is playing well, but he's going to learn that the playoff is a whole different animal with a whole different appetite.
I was not going to go this direction, and I'm not saying this just so that there's disagreement. I'm saying it because as I sit here and think it through, C.J. Stroud is actually who Russell Wilson
was when he was
wants to be. Wants to be. In terms of, if you listen to C.J. Stroud post-game, dude's really authentic about his faith, talks about his relationship with Jesus Christ. He's beloved by his teammates, and everybody's rallying around him. And it's like he's got an authenticity to him, his faith journey and his talent and the way he plays. I actually think, I'm just going to say, I think I would rather have C.J. Stroud because I'm not trying to take a shot at Russell Wilson, but C.J. Stroud is actually what Russell Wilson wants to be, but can't pull it off because he just can't match his level of authenticity. And I, for some reason, I just think that's going to show up. That I watched C.J. Stroud the first week of the NFL season, and I was like, oh my God, this kid's in over his head. He looks like deer in the headlights, and that was just him on his learning curve. And clearly he's figured things out.
That learning curve went flat fast. Ooh. And you know what? Yeah. I got a couple clips of this kid, C.J. Stroud, where he's coming out in the boot. And he doesn't want the little underneath drag route. He wants the one up top in the hole. And he throws a dart. I mean an absolute dart. And I rewinded about 4 or 5 times. I'm like, that's just pure confidence that I am that guy. I can make that throw every time. And now they do the half boot and he throws it back across the field that he did against Cincinnati twice to break them off. I say this kid's got it all. Now you just gave me something that I didn't know. I've never seen a post game press conference. I've never even watched myself. Ooh, those are normal.
No, he.
Oh, he's that.
He talks about his faith after every game, pretty much, and does it in an authentic way. That's, and again, I don't think he's worried about being off-putting or anybody, but you can just tell, like, oh, this kid's real with it, and he's got that respect in the locker room. Yeah. He's like I'm all in on.
Supposed to. What quarterback is turned in the locker room of a good team? That doesn't happen. Your quarterback has to be the end all be all. When anybody can go to the quarterback and he's got to sit there like a guidance counselor and talk to you. I mean, that's the guy. Come on, man. We all come to the quarterback. We all go around the quarterback, and Russell got away from that. But Sean looked like he's got him back on course. And when you got 20 and 19 and 5 and 4 interception, it's really just the experience. And you know how that is. When you get to the playoffs, they're going to shrink that field. And they're going to take away your best receiver. And they're going to take away that boot that you like to do. Now you're going to have to do all them little things that you didn't want to do. And I hope you've been working on them because your weaknesses will be exposed in the playoffs of the National Football League. No doubt about it. It's like all coaches that are outside the playoffs help the ones that are in the playoffs. Like, I want this one, for you. Like, it's unbelievable, the information that's passed. It's unbelievable.
So, this will be the last question. I'm doing this. This is me being greedy and probably a bit unfair because I actually like Bill Belichick, but I just want to put you in position to beat up Bill Belichick again because you did such a good job last week.
Why they go? Why did Sports Illustrated get mad with me talking about I blasted him? I was like, it's just facts. Name me one Super Bowl he's won without LT or Brady. He doesn't have one. He doesn't. I mean, it's that simple. Come on. Stop talking crazy. Give me the question.
Well, I don't even know if I have a question, but couldn't it be that at one point Bill Belichick was the GOAT of coaches and provided an edge? And just like a player that gets overconfident, falls in love with himself, thinks he's the end-all, be-all, maybe Bill Belichick has just gotten too full of himself, and now he's getting humbled and exposed.
Let's say this. Let's say Bill Belichick is like a bad cold, and it's just ran its course. That's as simple as I can make it for you, because when you go back to the place that you started your glory days in New York, in the Meadowlands, basically, yeah, it's still in the Meadowlands, in MetLife Stadium, and you show up and you tell the world that I'm going to play two quarterbacks. I type Rich Eisen, Michael Irvin, Kurt Warner, and Mooch. I say, have we forgotten the golden rule in a football organization, especially the head coach? If you have two quarterbacks, you have zero quarterbacks. You can't prepare two quarterbacks to play in a week in the National Football League. And he went back to his home and showed how desperate he was, that he was going to play two quarterbacks on a Sunday afternoon, and neither one of them had a quarterback rating above 44. Are you kidding me, Bill? You know better than this. You have to make the decision if you're going to go with Zappy. But you know Zappy's not the answer. But you definitely know Mac definitely ain't the answer. So just go and ride the bad wave all the way to the shore, pick up your trophies, and go home. It's time. There's no dream player in the draft. There's no rugby player in Europe that you're going to go find that can play in the third round. None of this is working anymore, Bill. Your team is fundamentally unsound, and then you miss a field goal at the end of that game to just drive the nail all the way home. This will get uglier before it gets any prettier, Bill. You're the greatest coach ever. You're about to have the most losses ever. You're not going to have the most wins ever. Just go home. Take the L and walk out the door. It's time.
You say retire. Let's say there's a head coaching job in Tampa this offseason. You wouldn't want Bill Belichick.
Who's the quarterback?
I don't know.
You're going from the frying pan and into the fire. The only thing that made some sense is Justin Herbert out in Los Angeles. But the L.A. media, they're not going to put up with that on the next week. Come on, man. You can't go to Hollywood with that. Come on, man. You can run that up in Foxborough and at Gillette and all of that. Boston media, they'll take that. You're not going to L.A. with that. No. And the paparazzi is real in L.A. It ain't real in New England. They're going to find out where he at. They're going to find out where he go in their little corners like you do in New England that nobody tell. You can't do that in L.A. You know that. They're going to find it. The bartender tell it on you, baby. The bartender call it. I give a damn how much tip money you give them. They call it TMZ because they want to know, because TMZ is tipping twice what you're giving them. So trust me, ain't nowhere to hide in L.A. No. It's time to go home. Baker Mayfield. Can you imagine Bill Belichick with Bill's thing was situational football. He was really, really good at situational football. Lawrence, Carl Banks, and Pepper Johnson and those four linebackers he had in New York allowed him to do some special things. Willie McGinnis was really good when he had him in New England. He leads the NFL in career playoff sacks. The Ted Johnson and Teddy Bruschi inside did a good job too. I mean, the players played for him, but Bill put them in positions. That's why we have these free-running receivers now. It's because Bill Belichick used to beat up Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning and them up there in New England and Foxborough in the dirt. Yeah, that's why we have field turf too, because they was trying to balance the playing field. That when you went on the road late in December and January, you didn't go up to a mud pit. That's what they had in Foxborough in January. That's a mud pit there. Come on, man. It's just, it's over. All the mystique and everything. You could tell great stories with that many championships. But when you're winning 2 out of 12 games, and that's what it's going to be. He's going to win 4 to 5 games a year for the next 5 years if he stays. And that'll still just only be 25 wins. And he'll be at 325, and he'll be, 3 behind? And then what, you going to go back for one more beating? When you talk about losing 10 games a year, that's 50-5. So let's say, what are you going to end this year? About 168, 169, put another 50 on, 200 losses for Bell. Like, ooh, 300 and something and 200? Nah, that'd be ugly. Ugh. I love you, big brother. I love your sweater too, man. Just send me one of those, a XXX, please.
I'll do that. Tell Deion, seriously, Art Briles.
Art Briles.
He's the only coach that could do it and would be celebrated. Bring Art Briles back to football. If he wants to have Shedeur to have a great senior season, Art Briles is the man. Thank you, Sapp. Great job as always. That's Warren Sapp, best person talking football anywhere. I want to talk to you guys about one of the greatest Christian personalities we have, Phil Robertson. For years, Hollywood has been lacking when it comes to stories of redemption. Movies and TV shows have trended towards the anti-hero, the flawed person who makes no effort to change and just becomes worse and worse as the story goes on. Well, here's some great news. The Blind, the true story of the Robertson family, is now available for purchase on Blaze TV. Maybe you've made a mess of your life. Maybe someone you love is in a dark place. Maybe all the above. If you or someone you know feels beyond redemption, you need to watch this movie. You'll see there is always hope, always. The Blind takes you on an incredible journey through the life of Phil Robertson, giving you an intimate look into the man behind the legend and the trials, the triumphs, and the values that have shaped him through the years. While The Blind wasn't a Blaze Media production, since Phil is such a big part of our Blaze TV family, we wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to stream and watch the show right here. Because it isn't ours, we can't include it as part of the subscription package. But if you'd rather purchase it and stream it here rather than Apple or Amazon, we wanted to make sure the opportunity was there. So do it right now. Don't miss this opportunity to own The Blind, a Phil Robertson story on Blaze TV. Buy it today at blazetv.com/theblind for $19.99. That's blazetv.com/theblind. All right, you can email me and us right here at fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to pound that like button if you're watching the video. We're going to get to the Daily Dose of Deion, but before we do that, Kari Lake, my favorite political candidate, next.
It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
Jason Whitlock, previously on Fearless.
Next year, when it gets really bad, that's when I'll clean up what I got to do. Because right now, it's those liberals on the college campus. It's those corrupt politicians. It's this person. It's that person. It's not me. I'm doing, everything right. No, you're not. Because if we were doing what was right, our politicians would look different and would act different and would protect us because they would be a reflection of us. We're getting the politics that we deserve. We're a bunch of sellouts, and so they sold out. All right, welcome back. We want to mix in a little political talk amidst all of our sports talk. We've talked to Warren Sapp. We're going to talk to Steve Kim here in a bit about Deion Sanders being Sportsperson of the Year. I want to talk about my favorite politician, perhaps ever. Kari Lake is going to join us. You guys know Kari. She should be the governor of Arizona right now. But now Kari is running for the U.S. Senate. I'm happy and pleased about that. Probably, if this interview goes well, I'm going to donate to Kari's campaign. I love to be transparent with all of you all. I've only donated, you guys know I've donated to 2 political campaigns, Kathy Barnett in Philadelphia, and now if, Kari just slightly twists my arms, I'm going to donate to Kari's campaign for the Senate. Kari, welcome back to the show.
That is amazing. Thank you.
No,
I
it's
hope
not.
this goes well.
I'm
I
easy.
mean, now the pressure's on. I also donated to Kathy Barnett. I was just so impressed with her. I still am. She's incredible. I hope she gets back in and runs for another office. We need people like Kathy in Washington, D.C. or in our state house, wherever she's needed.
So, Kari, why are you running for Senate?
Well, we have a great opportunity to pick up the Senate seat. And I think that your viewers and listeners, I'm sure they understand how important the Senate is. I mean, the Senate is where our Supreme Court justices are approved and they go through the process and appointees. And we need to have that in the control of the Republicans. I think we've all recognized, I hope that the people watching have recognized that what's going on with the Democrat Party right now, it's not even recognizable from the Democrat Party of yesteryear. It's just we're on a kamikaze mission to destroy our country right now. So I know President Trump's going to win. I think his agenda to get everything back on track is incredible. It's called Agenda 47. And he's going to need some fighters in Washington, D.C. to help him. I'm really proud and honored that the minute I announced my run for Senate, he endorsed me right there at my announcement rally. He's never done that before. So I have his endorsement. And now I'm looking to get all the people behind me here in Arizona. We've got great ideas, common sense ideas. We want to secure the border. We want to make sure that our streets are safe, deal with the chronic homelessness, improve our economy, and start putting Americans first, America's families first, and our economy.
So you have this long, successful television career, and you hop into politics to run for governor. What is that now, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? What have you learned? What did you learn from your first foray into the political field that you're applying to this run for the Senate?
Ooh, that's a good question. I learned, well, I've always felt like I had a connection with the people of Arizona. I feel like that connection has deepened. It's stronger. I understand the suffering of the people of this state, what their desires and dreams are. And I'm going to take that and use it kind of as fuel in this Senate race. Yeah, I've also learned we have really big issues in our election. We saw it in 2020, again in 22. I want the people watching to know I haven't given up on my court cases, but unfortunately, it's like molasses on a cold winter day, pushing these cases through. And the reason that election went that way was they want someone like me, an outsider, not to be involved in politics, just like they're doing everything they can to try to keep President Trump out of politics. And if some of these corrupt people want me out and they're willing to go to the lengths that they went to, that tells me I need to stay in. That tells me people like me and people like President Trump need to stay in and do the work of we the people. And so I've learned that I'm even a tougher fighter than I thought I was, and that I can withstand a lot of pressure and a lot of pushback and still continue to, A, keep joy in my soul, and B, keep fighting. Because Jason, we're at the end of the rope here. We don't have a lot of time left on the clock. I believe America is on the verge of collapsing if we don't get out and vote in this next election, even in a system that's not perfect, and vote like our lives depend on it, our children's lives depend on it, and our very country depends on it. And so my dad was a football coach. He said the only sure way to fail is to quit. So he didn't raise us to be quitters. And he also taught us not to lay around and lick our wounds, to get back up when we do have a rough spot or a failure, and keep moving forward. No feeling sorry for ourselves. Keep moving forward.
So one of the things you've done is you had a Mama Bear tour at the border. What was that about? What did you learn? What were you trying to accomplish with that tour?
Well, I'm so blessed as a candidate to have a coalition called Moms for Kari, but it's a massive coalition of hundreds of moms. And when we do get together and talk, the border comes up naturally, as it does for everybody. I mean, we're watching videos on social media where literally thousands of people are running across our border. They're being detained. They're being transported to a city, an airport near you. And these moms wanted to go down and see how do they go from running across the border to ending up on a bus in, say, New York City or whatever city it may be, Chicago, you name it? And so this is the town where you're looking at video here. We're in Nogales, Arizona. It's a town of 22,500. This is where everybody is brought to be processed. They're given a cell phone, given some health care. They're given clothing. They're given food, a bus trip to an airport, and a free ticket on an airline to a city that they want to go to. And these moms are struggling right now to put food on the table. These moms are struggling where they used to fill the gas tank up. Now they can only put a quarter of a tank in. And so they're wondering why the government is doing this for people who are coming in illegally and leaving Americans high and dry. So it's the first of one border tour. We're going to take our moms group back down and see other parts of the border because every part's a little bit different. But let me tell you a story that's really kind of frightening for that town of Nogales. Small town, and right now 9 buses every day depart from Nogales up to Tucson or Phoenix to the airports with people in, with illegal immigrants in those buses. The money's running out for those buses. And in a very short order, and within a week, I believe, they're going to be down to 2 buses a day. And that means literally hundreds of illegal immigrants are going to be poured out onto the streets of this tiny town where they don't speak the language. Culturally, they're so different, they don't even have an ability to fit in. And this town is truly in a panic over it. The Democrat mayor came out and joined us and said, I support your stance on the border. You're right. We've got to shut this illegal activity down. Enough is enough. We can't take it anymore. So Americans, I think, are starting to come together on this. And I frankly think that Kamala Harris, Biden's border czar, I invite her to come down on our next Mama Bear border tour. I believe she's a mother of stepchildren, and I'm hoping that she cares about her children's future, her stepchildren's future. I care about my kids' future, and they won't have a future if this border continues to be wide open. And there will be a terrorist attack at some point if we don't stop these people from coming across. It's at critical mass, and we are at the end of the rope, as I said.
So when you say that Democrat mayor supports you and supports the position, do you think that's reflective of a lot of Democrat politicians, but they're just well, it affects all of them because Eric Adams is dealing with it in New York City. It seems like some of these guys would eventually just say, you know what, I got to quit that party and join a party of reality and sanity. I don't know how he could support your position and still be a Democrat.
Well, this is a town that has had Democrat officials for a long time. It's one of those towns where it's almost impossible if you have an R behind your name to get elected. It says a lot that the people of Nogales elected him. He's a much more common sense, old school Democrat. I'm thinking like about when we were growing up, the way Democrats might have been, where they were a little more pro-America. And listen, he's on the front lines of it. It has gotten so bad where literally thousands of people a day are running across our border, and they're all coming into his town. Just like with Mayor Adams in New York City, it's all fine and dandy. You're sitting there as a sanctuary city. You're not on the border, and it's really fine when you're just looking at the border going, oh, that's Arizona's problem. Oh, that's Texas' problem. But when that problem arrives at your doorstep, when the drug deaths due to fentanyl poisoning start taking your community, that's when it becomes everyone's problem. And I think it's gotten to such a point that every state is feeling the effects. I don't know if you've been to the airport lately, Jason. I mean, you can tell there's a lot of people here illegally and they're hopping on planes. I was talking to somebody the other day. He said he got on a plane. He said he thinks he was the only American citizen on the plane. Everybody else had the little baggie with all their papers in it, and they were from God knows where, going to God knows where.
You know, you just made me think. I got a flight coming up soon. You know, I'm going to be in Phoenix for AmFest. Will you be around?
I should be. I do have some travel around that time, but I'm looking forward to meeting you. We'll connect, and I'll figure out when you're going to be here. I would love to.
Yeah, by the time I get there, I'll be one of your big donors, and so you'll have to make time for me because I'll be one of your donors. Hey, I want to ask you some non-Arizona questions, just political questions. Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom are having a debate tonight. Do you think this is smart for Ron? Is this the right thing to do?
It's kind of silly. I mean, the country is burning, and we've got these two, they want to pretend that they're the nominees and having a pretend debate. To me, it seems silly. I think what they really need to do is get back to their states and start being the governor. That being said, I want to give Ron DeSantis some kudos. He's been a good governor for the most part in Florida. And it shows you that he's, the Republican governors are 10 times better, in my opinion, than the Democrat governors. But this seems silly. America's on fire, and they're doing some sort of a debate where they're pretending to be the nominee. To me, it just seems really ridiculous at the time that we're living in that this is going on.
Well, one of the interesting things that's been going on as the Republican debate thing has been going around is Vivek Ramaswamy, and particularly his calling out of the RNC chair, Ronna McDaniel. What's your take on Vivek's harsh criticism and others that are saying Ronna needs to step aside?
I thought Vivek really had a standout performance because he did say some things that were pretty shocking. And I think, jaws were dropping when he was going after the other opponents of his. And Ron has taken a lot of incoming. I was there when she got reelected in Dana Point at that meeting, and she won in a huge victory with the 168 folks who were voting. I don't know what she will do, if she will step aside. She doesn't seem overly worried about the fundraising issue. But, what my advice to her would be is I don't want to attack Ronna. I think she's a very nice person. I have gotten to know her. I was actually supporting the Harmeet Dillon, who was running against her. And since that election, I've had many conversations with Ronna about election integrity. I think it's an issue that the RNC needs to really ramp up. I think they need to concentrate on get out the vote. We have to get every Republican out to vote in this next election. It's going to be critical to taking our country back and saving our republic. So my advice to her would be really focus on those two issues, and we'll see what happens. I know she's under a lot of pressure right now, but I think if she starts to really focus on voter integrity or election integrity, and getting out the vote, I think we could see the RNC get stronger.
Well, speaking of, you talk about getting Republicans out to vote. For someone like me, who, I don't like the Republican tag. I'm a MAGA person. I'm an American first person. And I'm wondering if we're not seeing some progress here that people maybe aren't talking about and focusing in on. But when I see Mitt Romney basically kind of pushed out of politics, Liz Cheney pushed out, Adam Kissinger, and even someone like Joe Manchin, a Democrat that's now saying he's not going to run. And so it seems like MAGA is starting to run off the RINOs, and we're having some success here. And so that's who I want to see, the RINOs kicked out or pushed out or get them out. Is my read on this right that, MAGA and America First is having some success?
Well, you know me, I'm MAGA. And MAGA stands for Make America Great Again. I don't know who wouldn't be for that. Actually, Barry Goldwater was for that. Ronald Reagan was for that, and President Trump. And when we put our country first, we already know it works. We have a stronger economy. And guess what? Everybody does better. So I remember back when Reagan was president, and kind of the same thing was happening. It was the Reagan Republicans versus the Rockefeller type Republicans. And eventually he said, we're all Republicans and we got to come together. But it was very obvious that the party was going toward the Reagan Republicans. And it's very obvious that this party is moving toward America First, because we've seen that it works. And we have a very strong leader in President Trump. And boy, do we need him back. I mean, the world needs him back. We're heading into World War III. And I know for a fact if he were in office, we wouldn't be close to what's happening right now. So I also believe, though, Jason, that if we as MAGA Republicans put our hands out and say, no, you weren't with President Trump every step of the way, you're out, or you were with somebody else, you're out, and you are banished to Siberia, that's not the right way to handle it going forward. What I think we need to do is say there's a path for us to all come into this party. Let's concentrate on the 90 to 95% of things we agree on. We're going to have things we disagree on, and then we can argue over those later. But right now, the Democrats are absolutely loving watching the Republicans go after each other. And we tend to concentrate on the 5% of things we disagree with. And then we forget that we agree on 95% of everything. That being said, somebody like what Mitt Romney said, where he would never vote for Trump ever, he'd rather vote for a Democrat. You know, Mitt, that's going to hurt our country. That's going to hurt our country. And I don't have a lot of patience for that kind of talk, because we got to get President Trump, in my opinion, President Trump's the man for this job. And we got to get him back in there and then rally behind him and then get to work turning our country around and getting it back on track.
Well, Kari, I just want you to say this will be the last time that I talk to you where I'm so deferential, because, you know, once I'm a donor, you actually work for me. And so I'll probably, you know, have some demands for you, and I'll be a little less respectful. You'll have to be respectful of me. I'll be your boss after I make this donation. So
thank you so much.
Changing our dynamics.
Well, you know, politicians should work for the people. We've gotten away from that. This country was set up where the government belongs to we the people. And unfortunately, politicians go there and they get lured by the lobbyists and the big money. And I think that's why they're trying so hard to keep me out, because they can't blackmail me. They can't bribe me. I'm in it for the right reasons, a little bit selfishly for my kids. I really do want them to have access to the American dream. They're getting to where they're young adults, and I want them, if they do right and work hard, to be able to have prosperity and a shot at the American dream. So it's simple. I think we can get things back. And Jason, I want people out there to know we have to remain optimistic. We can't get so dark that we go, oh my gosh, it's over. We're going to move forward. It's going to be a tough year. We're going to come through this, and we are going to quickly turn things around when we get into office. And one more thing, since we're talking politics and you talk sports normally, I just want to put a shout out to my Iowa Hawkeye football team. I hope they beat Michigan big on Saturday. I know it's going to be an uphill battle, but I'm rooting for them.
I'm on your website right now because I'm being dead serious. I'm going to donate, and I'm going to donate today, and I like to be authentic. But wow, I can go up to $6,600 here. Is that legal?
That's
I think
right.
When I donated to Kathy, $3,600 was the limit. 6,000.
Well, she was running for it's $3,300 for the primary and $3,300 that then banks for the general.
Gotcha. Oh, all right. Well, I'm giving.
Thank you.
Because I'm backing up what I said.
This is exciting.
All right.
I really appreciate
it. Thank you, Kari.
Thank you, Jason, and I'll see you in Phoenix.
You're awesome.
I love you too. Thank you.
Kari Lake, look, man. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but I do, and I'm a patriarch, and some people think I'm a sexist pig, but these female candidates, Kathy Barnett, her whole story about how she was born and her mother avoiding abortion and just all the things that Kathy Barnett stood for, it just got me, and so I gave, and I'm a huge Kari Lake fan, and I'm not gonna lie about it and pretend like I'm not. Try to be transparent with you. Hopefully I'm going to vote in 2024, but I'm definitely going to give here. I'm going to give her $3,300. Maybe another $3,300 later. All right, stick around. Don't go anywhere. The holiday season. ShopBlazeMedia.com/fearless. Use my promo code Jason25 for 25% off. Don't go anywhere. Korean Cosell, Steve Kim, next.
Jason Whitlock, previously on Fearless.
Everything that's going on these college campuses is a reflection of how weak our enemies think American men are, and we are that week. I'm talking about all of us. I want to, if people that are talking about they're serious, they want to save the country, and I know how we can save the country. Oh, we just put enough Republicans in office. We're going to save the country. No, you're not. No, you're not. And that's not a statement about the Uniparty, although it is a statement about the Uniparty. Are you testing your skills on Prize Picks this football season? It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. My mom has her Prize Picks for, I believe, Thursday Night Football tonight. C.D. Lamb, the Cowboys wide receiver, more than 6.5 receptions. Micah Parsons, I like this, more than 1 sack. Geno Smith, less than 226.5 passing yards. I like that. I think my mom's got some good picks this week. Go to prizepicks.com and /fearless. Use my promo code FEARLESS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com /fearless. Use the code FEARLESS. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Listen that I'm back just to feed you raps and I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, time for your daily dose of Deion mixed with a daily dose of the Korean Cosell. What could be better? Deion and Cosell. Primetime and Cosell. Nothing could be better. Steve, I was not planning on talking about primetime today, but Sports Illustrated forced me. They made Sports Person of the Year, Deion Sanders. Guy wins 33% of his football games, and he is an Sports Person of the Year. I would imagine he must have edged out Brittany Griner. She got released from prison earlier this year, I believe, and got traded for the Merchants of Death. Her team finished last in the WNBA. Deion finished last in the Pac-12. So it was a neck-and-neck race, I guess, between Deion and Brittany. I don't know. This makes no sense. Your thoughts, Deion Sanders, Sports Person of the Year.
My sources tell me that if Deion in Colorado would have gone 6-6, Sports Illustrated would have awarded him the Nobel Peace Prize. So, but he got 4-8. So he's the Sports Person of the Year. Couple of thoughts. Again, more virtue signaling. This is what it is. And by the way, do they even have the magazine anymore? It's just an online cover. They did a pretty good job. And I'm just wondering, was that story written by a real writer or one of their AI bots that they just got uncovered for? I mean, where have you gone, Rick Tellender and Curry Kirkpatrick? But I'll be honest with you. I'm not surprised. I'm not necessarily outraged. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that SI didn't name some transgender jiu-jitsu fighter who's won 50 straight fights, throwing girls like a rag doll across the mat as their Sports Person of the Year, or, do something like put Lizzo on their swimsuit cover. And maybe they'll probably do that in a few months. So I guess, look, where have you gone, SI, Jason? We've talked about this in the past, but growing up specifically in Valencia, California, and then later on Montebello, California, during my formative years, Wednesdays and or Thursdays used to be an unbelievable delight when I would wait for that mailman to come in and shove it in the old mailbox. And if I saw a magazine and it was a Sports Illustrated, I mean, it made my day. It really did. And I was a loyal subscriber for about a good dozen years. And I had a great collection that I eventually just threw out because I had no space. But I could still vividly remember my reaction on getting certain covers, like when Marvelous Marvin Hagler made the cover after he beat Tommy Hearns, and the headline just wrote "Marvelous." I mean, there was a time long before social media, all you kids out there listening to this, when you made the cover of Sports Illustrated, that was our version of going viral. It used to really mean something special. And now, unfortunately, it really doesn't mean much at all.
Yeah, it's funny, you and I share this in common. I had a friend growing up when I was a little kid named Scott Sylvie, and he had a Sports Illustrated collection that I think maybe started in 1970, and he had all the Sports Illustrated from 1970 to maybe 1979-ish. And he gave them all to me. And I can remember we lived in the same apartment complex, and I can remember taking boxes of them one at a time, and they were stacked up in my bedroom in my apartment all around the walls. And then my grandmother got me my own Sports Illustrated collection, probably around 1978, 1979, around the same time. And I started adding my own, and I was just like you. You get the magazine on Thursday, and it's like a Christmas gift every Thursday, and you'd read the articles, and you'd read the articles over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Years later, you'd circle back, and, you know, Bruce Hardy on the cover as a high school quarterback. I don't know if you remember that cover, the Golden Boy or whatever, but, and I can remember as an adult, when I was a sports writer, I think working in Kansas City and maybe even in Ann Arbor, I can't remember, but I can remember being quoted in Sports Illustrated articles or referenced in Sports Illustrated articles about, and that was a really big deal. And so you mentioned, hey, did they have a real writer, right? Because I went and read this article or some of this article about Deion, and I nearly fell out of my chair when I saw Pat Forty wrote the article. Pat Forty is a peer of mine. We came up together in the sports writing field. He may be a year or two older than me, but you know, at one time we were media friends. He worked in Louisville. I worked in the Kansas City Star. But I may have even met Pat when I was in Ann Arbor, and he was, you know, but I've known Pat for years, Olympics, and Pat was a great sports writer at one time. And I'm reading him sell Deion as Sportsperson of the Year. And I'm just like, I can't believe they got Pat Forty to do this. But really, I can believe they got Pat Forty to do it. Pat Forty's got a daughter who's an Olympic level swimmer. She may have made the Olympic team. I know she was a top NCAA athlete. And Pat Forty will not speak out against William Leah Thomas and men competing against women in swim. He won't do it. And I'm just like, I can't believe that Pat Forty is okay with men and boys competing against his daughter, but he's gone that woke. And, you know, I just, what a tough assignment. You got to sell Deion as Sportsperson of the Year. And he tried his best, but it did not work with me. And look, I'm shocked. And they did the photo shoot when they were 4-6. But my sense of self-worth and self-esteem, I wouldn't have accepted the award or the recognition if I'm Deion Sanders. He's making a mockery of people that have actually earned that, and he hasn't legitimately earned it. I wouldn't accept it. I blame Deion for accepting it.
Hold on, Jason. Let me turn this around. How about Pat Forty? How about him saying, because he's had a good career. He makes a lot of money. I have a question. Why does he accept that assignment? He's like, you know what, guys? I love the magazine. I love the brand. It's iconic. This here, I can't put my name on. How about that? Right? Because I mean, that
cost him his job. He's probably got a wife, kids to answer to. I mean, listen, again, it's easy for me and you. We don't have kids, but he does.
I mean, Jason, I just look at the history of Sports Illustrated, and it's really sad what it has become. I mean, it used to be the most expensive, important real estate in all of sports. It really is. And to those who made the cover, it really meant something. I still remember My last year of high school, this is Thanksgiving weekend, late November, Miami plays Notre Dame in a primetime game on Thanksgiving Friday, and Miami gets revenge for the Cleveland Jerry fumble game of '88. I knew Miami was going to make the cover of Sports Illustrated. Jason, I'm just telling you, for 3 straight days, I don't know what was in my classroom. I don't care what my teachers were telling me. I was just thinking about, I cannot wait to get that Sports Illustrated. So that next Wednesday came, I rush home to my house, and it's there, and it was Stephen Maguire, the fullback who scored a touchdown that game. They had this great photo, and all it said, the headline, revenge. And it just made my day. It really did. And then later on, I remember that same stretch months earlier when Jimmy Johnson left Miami, the cover was the next week, Jimmy Johnson in his cowboy garb in a stairwell, kind of looking down at the practice field about rebuilding Dallas. And it was sad, but you kind of like said, wow, this is real. And now everything's just through Twitter, social media, Instagram stories. And I'm just telling you, the likes of Curry Kirkpatrick, Rick Tellender, Gary Smith, they had an indelible impact on me as someone who thought, I want to be in the media. I like to write. I could read those stories right now from, like, let's say 1983, and I would enjoy them like they were just fresh off the printer. That's how good those stories used to be at that magazine.
I agree, but now I read them, and not that because I gave up that magazine collection, but they got a vault you can find online. But now, so when I read the articles now, though, I question, even back in the old days, like, I wonder if this is true. I wonder if these quotes are accurate. I wonder if they're not playing with the narrative, because it used to be like the Bible, and like the NFL weekend wasn't over until you got the Thursday edition of Sports Illustrated, and they would profile the 1 or 2 best games. And you, as someone that wrote about and covered the Chiefs, if Michael Silver or whoever was covering the NFL at that time, if they were at the game, it's like that game on Sunday, as a journalist, it wasn't over until I read Michael Silver's account of it, because he may have some kind of access to Derek Thomas or Marty Schottenheimer or Carl Peterson that I didn't have, and he may reveal something in his article that I didn't have. But I'm telling you, I look back at the articles now, and I just wonder, like, maybe they were pulling our leg the whole time. Maybe this was bogus the whole time.
I think a lot of writers come in with a preconceived notion, and they try to craft a narrative. And a lot of people have been guilty of that. And when it comes to the mainstream media, unfortunately, the words of Ronald Reagan come to mind: trust but verify. And you're right. Every time I read something now, I do take it with a grain of salt. But when it came to football coverage, Jason, and Sports Illustrated, the meat and potatoes guys that would just give it to you the way it was, because he didn't really do profiles, was the great Dr. Z, Paul Zimmerman. And I can look, I don't know if they had the impact of NFL films and the Sable family, as I grew up watching NFL films on loop. But reading Paul Zimmerman as a very young person, I thought made me a much more, I would say, educated football fan. I felt as though once I read him and he'd do his own Pro Bowl or All-Pro team, I'd be like, yeah, that's the team. And I felt like I trusted that guy.
And you know what? I'm thinking now in retrospect, we should put far more trust in those guys back then, because I tell this story all the time now about the New York Times. And I know that conservatives have always criticized the New York Times. But I would tell people, like, hey, man, I was profiled in the New York Times twice. And both times the stories were fair. Both times. And the second story, it was a knockdown drag out. I think the guy's name was Joe Planbeck, and it's when I left the Kansas City Star in 2010. And I left amid controversy, and he came in and he had a narrative that he wanted to do. And, you know, came to town, sat down with me, and I can remember, first thing I disappointed him on, he wanted to meet at a restaurant, and I was like, yeah, let's meet at Kona Grill on the plaza. It's a sushi bar. And he told me when he sat down, he's like, man, why would you pick this place? We're in Kansas City. I wanted you to be at a barbecue restaurant, and so he could play with that, but anyway, he had a whole narrative that he had been fed about me and the sports editor at the Kansas City Star and the editor at the Kansas City Star that was completely inaccurate. And he's arguing with me about it. He doesn't believe me, he's believing everything. And so I was like, well, hold on, man. I'll show you the email correspondence between me and these people that are telling you that this is what happened. I showed him the email correspondence, and he ended up writing a very fair story on me. And even though he came to town planning to paint one picture, he ended up telling the truth. And so at one time, the New York Times and I believe Sports Illustrated, because again, when I think about the times I was quoted and the stories they wrote about Jeff George, where I would have some personal insight, they had such a system of checks and balances and editors checking your work and actually, hey, I want your notes. And so I want to make sure that, you're quoting people accurately, that the work was more fair. It was far more honest than the work we're seeing now. But
Jason, one last note on Deion being coach of the year. I just thought it was really interesting. On the same day that's announced by SI, that he's the sportsperson of the year. And I sent you this clip last night. Stephen A. Smith said, Deion, get out of Boulder. You can't win there. Wait a minute. So either he did a great job or you got to get the first Greyhound and get to Alabama. And I'm thinking to myself, Stephen A., 2 months ago, he was doing a great job. Colorado's building. And now you can't win there, even though, and again, these are other narratives that's been talked about. They're making it sound like Colorado is Vanderbilt of the Rocky Mountains. They for years, since I'd say late 80s with Bill McCartney, it had a good 20-year run where they were a substantial football school. They won national titles. They won a Heisman Trophy. They had All-Americans. They had a slew of NFL talent. And even Mike McIntyre, who I thought actually did a really good job after he left San Jose State. And I never understood why they pulled the plug on him so quickly. And so this whole notion that somehow they've never cared about football or were never good is, again, another false narrative crafted to help one individual.
It's the standards are so low for Black public figures that, again, winning 4 of 12 games, selling tickets, being enough of a circus act that, hey, people came out and saw, and they got this whole thing about, applications are up this percentage and revenue's up this percentage, and that makes Deion Sportsman of the Year. It's laughable to me because it's just like, hey, man, Sexy Red is making money in rap. Is that because she's good? Or is that because she's so debaucherous and such a minstrel show that people will support that? And that's really what I see with Deion and the whole gimmick he's pulling off. It's a minstrel show, and it's popular, and we're celebrating it, and the message is being sent out. Hey, be as clownish and as boastful and as arrogant as Deion, and that's being unapologetically you, and we'll name you Person of the Year. It's just bad messaging. Well, Jason, is there a white coach that could be named Sportsman of the Year that wins 33% of their games?
No, I remember Joe Paterno winning it in 1986. I distinctly remember that because it was leading up to the 87 Fiesta Bowl. But sticking on the subject of black coaches, I just brought up Vanderbilt. It just got me thinking. Vanderbilt's a very tough job because, first of all, you're in an absolute meat grinder of a conference that cares about football first and foremost. Vanderbilt has real academic standards. So, first of all, you have no tradition, and you're actually going to try to get real students that can play a little football instead of the other way around. They almost have no history outside of like Jake Cutler, right? But I remember James Franklin had a really nice run. And again, he kind of scheduled for success. But he made that job work for a few years where he built that thing, won the games that he had to, and then did well enough in the other games where the win-loss record for Vanderbilt's stake is like pretty doggone good. And now he's at Penn State, and that's one of the elite jobs. And you know what's interesting? What I respect about James Franklin? We actually have standards for him because he is now getting heat from the Penn State faithful for not winning the big games, even though he's consistently winning 9, 10, 11, but he cannot get over the Michigan-Ohio State hump. And Penn State is actually one of the top 15 teams in the year this year. I actually like that team, at least on one side of the ball. But that's what I love about the James Franklin thing. There is no, like, discount standard. He's actually at a major program, and he's being judged like an elite coach should be. Are you winning the games that you're supposed to?
I'm trying to figure out here who replaced Joe Paterno. Was it James Franklin? Did he succeed, or was there someone else in there for?
Bill O'Brien had that short run. Remember, it was Bill O'Brien, and then he went to Houston. It was Bill O'Brien.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Because I was going to say, building that, having the success he's having, basically replacing Joe Paterno, and the damage that was done to Penn State's brand is actually pretty impressive. And again, I get, he's not beating Michigan and Ohio State, and so I get why people are putting pressure on him. They're putting the same pressure on Ryan Day. But Deion has no standard, and so he's our sports person of the year. Hats off to Deion. I would have given it, I think I would have sided with Brittany Griner. Her coming out of prison and leading the LA Sparks or whatever team she played on, maybe it's the Sun. Didn't she play on the Phoenix team, Phoenix Mercury, leading them to a last place finish in the WNBA? Every bit as impressive.
What if Angel Reese was the sports person of the year? Would you have been okay with that?
No,
right?
But it would have been better than Deion. At least she accomplished something. She won something.
Now, if it was Caitlin Clark, you'd be all in, right? If it was Caitlin Clark, you'd probably buy that cover and blow it up like a fathead.
Rock solid candidate.
Yeah, see, that's probably
rock solid candidate.
If that happens,
she's lifting women's basketball. She's lifting women's basketball to a relevance it's never seen before. She'd be a rock solid person to win that award.
Yeah. By the way, Kim Mulcahy has announced Angel Reese is back on the LSU basketball team. Just because I've been keeping up on it.
I love that. I love that you're following. I love that. Yeah, you're finally admitting.
Oh no, we're not. Oh no, we are not.
You're finally admitting what's going on here. All right, thank you, Steve. Great job. As always, we'll play some tomorrow. That means we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna